Main event, you're listening live, CJLO 1690 AM in Montreal and maineventradio.com worldwide. This is Ryan Ryder alongside my two partners here, Steve Rockamaniac and The Viz. And this is a huge jam-packed edition of the show today, as we had one interview just there, and now we've got another big interview coming up very momentarily. Let me just hit his music and then we'll get right started. None other than the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. Here he is. Ken, welcome to the main event. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, and how about yourself?
Very well, thanks for asking. First off, let's start with your most recent happening for you, the Lions Den Scottsdale Light Fight Team tryouts at your newest training facility in Arizona. How did that go?
It went well. Right now, they've got 350 students. We've been open a short time. We've got one in North Carolina, one in Connecticut, 3 in Detroit, 2 in Sacramento, 1 in Reno, and 1 in Scottsdale, and more to come.
That's great. You pretty much you're the one who put the Ultimate Fighting Championship on the map in its early days. How did you become involved in the sport, and after seeing the evolution firsthand over the years, what would you say has changed in the past 15 years or so?
I think the biggest thing that's changed is just the rules. I mean, when I first did it, it was basically 2 guys get into the ring, and it was bare knuckles, no time limit. The only way you could win or lose a fight is if the guy tapped out 3 times on the mat, and or your corner threw in the towel. So it was pretty real. And now it's been a lot more friendlier to the fans and also to the fighters, of putting rules in there and time limits and certain things you can and can't do. So it's come a long ways to make it more friendlier for TV, more friendlier for sponsors, and a way for guys to actually make a living at the sport, because people will actually sponsor this now. Back when I did it, baby, it was the real deal.
Yeah, you've seen it up and come from its early days to how it is now, and you actually had that big match with Tito Ortiz on Spike TV in late 2006, which was billed as your retirement match. How come that stipulation came about, and if you didn't actually truly plan on leaving the sport of mixed martial arts?
That's stuff like that. It's just a shame that I can't talk about it, because right now we're in the middle of a court battle with the UFC. And I really can't comment on that, because,
okay.
I'd rather have the lawyers deal with all that stuff. Anything I say about any of that stuff, they'll try and turn it around, so I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay,
I was going to ask you if there's ever be a chance that you'd return to the UFC, but I don't know if you could answer that or not.
Well, again, you never know. That's just like I said. I don't know how things will work out. I hope that we can put this behind us someday, and that we can all grow up and be cool about this, and let's get it done, and instead of having to go through all this mess. But again, I ain't an attorney, and I can't answer those questions. Only the attorneys can. It's been taken out of my hands now.
Yeah, and well, if you're not going to be returned to the UFC, what other upstart companies would you be interested in working for? We've heard the rumors also about you potentially facing your brother Frank at some point in the future.
Well, I'm looking at trying maybe facing Frank or Hoist Gracie. It just depends. There's a lot of ways that I can do this. I want to go fight. I'd like to fight one more time. There's a lot of guys out there that would make sense to me, but I tell you, the ones that make the most sense would be Frank or Hoist.
Yeah. And where did you get the nickname "the world's most dangerous man" from?
I was on they had this special they came out with, and I'm not sure it was NBC or ABC, I don't know which one it was. And they had were listing the world's most dangerous places, animals, things, people, food. And at that time, I was the world champion, back when there was no holds barred, basically bare knuckles, no rules. I was the guy. And so people looked at that as, this dude is dangerous. This dude's got to be the world's most dangerous man. He goes in there and fights with no rules. And so that's how I got that name, is they did a special on me. And it was pretty good, too, because they didn't show the brutal side of the fighting. They showed more of who I really was behind the fighting.
Ken, you brought the World's Most Dangerous Man moniker to WWE, and when you were there was a little deal that went down between you and Dan Severn. We had him on the show a few years back, and he trash talked you a little bit. What happened? How did all the heat between you two come about?
Well, it wasn't on WWE.
No, it was from Ultimate Fighting.
In the UFC in the original days.
Yeah.
And what happened was we were sitting in this meeting room, and Phyllis, his manager at the time, and Dan Severn, and then me, and my management, and they were talking. And at the time, I was the champion. And they were asking questions, but none of them were directed at Dan. They were all directed at me. We were both sitting in the same room. Well, Dan got up and left. He got pissed off, got up and left. And so then I got up, and I told Dan I was going to kill him for disrespecting. This business, just getting up and leaving us. And then Phyllis spouted off and said something like, "Oh, whatever, you're dreaming." And I said, "Yeah, well, you watch if this dream don't come true." And so when I got into the ring, I literally tried to snap his neck. When he shot in, I popped his head off, and that's when he tapped out. But after the match was over, he walked up to me and said, "Hey, dude, I didn't mean anything by that." And I said, "Hey, man, no worries. I'm happy."
No. And okay, so that's how it ended. Then why is there still heat to this day, or has it gone away?
No, I don't think there's heat. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. Really, I mean, same thing with Tito and anybody else. People got to understand the people that I fight, and it's just I'm one of those kind of guys. I'm intense, man. And if I'm gonna fight you, I'm going to get in your face. I'm going to try and break you down. I'm going to try and make you get beat before you ever walk into the ring. That's just me, man.
You're the real deal. You're one of the original. You're one of the originators. One of the guys who started off, made mixed martial arts what it is today. And my next question for you, actually, training for MMA versus training for wrestling. What are some of the differences in your training regimen?
I think rest. You get a lot more sleep when you're not traveling on the road all the time. It's definitely, that's a huge difference. Is that you actually get an opportunity to actually set your schedule, get up and train and eat properly, and then go train, and then you have your fight, and it's all laid out. You get to do your interviews, and then boom, there's the fight. Where in WWE, you're up on a plane, fly to a certain place, then you drive to 5 different places. You don't get a lot of rest. Your diet's not very good. It's like being a rock and roll star. It's just hard to find time. You do find time, but you don't find a lot of rest.
Yeah, mentioning the WWF, WWE, how did the concept of the Lions Den match come up?
I know Vince talked about it with me and wanted to do some sort of match, and I came up with this idea of building a cage, doing a cage match, and fighting the cage, and then once we did that, then we were trying to figure out different ways. So I said, how about hanging weapons or something in there? So they hung the weapons in there, and that's when I had the match with Steve Blackman with his weapons in there. And then there was another one called the Iron Circle, where I'd seen this movie one time where all these guys circled up cars. They turned their lights on because it was at nighttime, and we fought in a circle of cars. And so it was a lot of original things that I did in there, just like the straitjacket match, where they put me in a straitjacket, and I actually heel hooked Jeff Jarrett. And just a lot of new stuff that I was able to do, and it was, and those things have not been done today. They have not been duplicated because there's not people that can do what I did. And if you look before I got into the WWE and after I was in the WWE, there are flying arm bars, there's leg chokes, there's leg locks. Before I went in there was the sharpshooter and the rear naked choke, and that's it.